Hello, my name is Stephen Redman and welcome to another episode of Pastor's Library. This is the channel where we discuss everything to do with theology books that might be on a reading list for a seminary course, for a bachelor's or master's degree in biblical theology or biblical studies, maybe even just books that have caught your eye on someone's bookshelf or in what is in the UK an almost unlikely event in a Christian bookshop. Just to say, if you like what we have to say, please give us a thumbs up on YouTube. It does help the channel. Also, if you subscribe and click on the bell, the subscription helps us. It costs you nothing, and the ringing of the bell just means that you will be notified when we launch another episode. So today I've been looking at some of the things that I've read this year, and the Atonement is a subject that is always coming up. Every few years there seem to be another flurry of books. This year I've read 3 books on the Atonement, which are all very different indeed, but all have something to offer. Now, the first one I'd like to tell you about was actually published in 2020, but me getting around to reading it this year is not unusual. 318 pages. It's written by William Lane Craig, who is probably best known as an apologist. Here, he is trying to put together a biblical / theological / philosophical overarching theory when he can produce what is actually, in his own words, a rich, multifaceted atonement theory. In other words, it doesn't take one single view, but it combines a few, which I have to say I felt quite comfortable with. William Lane Craig is very convincing in his arguments. He is very responsible in the way he delivers them. And he gives us also a great bibliography, something which will be a real asset to you if you are wanting to look further into issues of atonement. So this is a lovely hardbound volume with a slipcover. The cover shows Jesus on the cross, and it is talking very much about all of these issues. Now, I have to say, I found it refreshing, I found it helpful. I have to be honest, I'm a bit of a fanboy of William Lane Craig's other books, and he is in general very, very accessible, but a great thinker. So if you want to look more into the Atonement, then that would be a good book to start at. So, having got a real Pentecostal pedigree in my life, I picked up this book, The Spirit of Atonement, by Stephen M. Studebaker. This was published in 2021. It's 208 pages. And what this does is it gives a place for the Holy Spirit in the theory of atonement. If you like, it leans more to a Trinitarian view. And what it really does is present to us a very relational view. And in a world in which most of our views of the atonement are either Christocentric or crucicentric, or both, this brings in a pneumatological aspect. Involving the Holy Spirit, as this author does, means that the Holy Spirit in atonement is not all in the past, but is very much part of the life of the Spirit. And a Pentecostal theory of atonement is proposed, which, ultimately I would suggest to you is more of a Trinitarian view of atonement. This, I really did like this. Some of these Pentecostal theories of whatever books, and there are a number of them out there, read like they're just trying to come up with something that you can stick the name Pentecostal on. But I really felt that this author had come up with a very reasoned proposal which was more Trinitarian than just Pentecostal. And I really felt that this gave a lot of insight into the struggles that Christians have had with a theory of atonement, and I felt it was very, very pleasant on the eye as well as on the heart. So it's a good book. The third one I wanted to mention was published this year, 2023. It's 240 pages. It's edited by Michael F. Bird and Scott Harrower, both of which are on the staff listings of Australian Bible colleges. Now, I actually quite like Michael F. Bird, even though he describes himself as a Calvinist. Now, you'll probably have gathered by now I wouldn't describe myself as a Calvinist. But Michael F. Bird is very understanding of the predicament he puts himself in by claiming to be a Calvinist, and is very much a bridge builder with other groups. My problem with Calvinism is almost entirely the size of the God of Calvinists, in that God is a more controlling figure, one who is pulling the strings, and that free will is either non-existent or is an idea that we use to describe God's will. Now, Michael Bird hasn't disappointed me in this book. This book is talking about Calvinism all the way through, really, and it's aimed at Calvinists. But I felt this had a very revealing aspect to it. It was very helpful, and it's really discussing Amrialdism, or what is sometimes called unlimited atonement or hypothetical universalism. And it's all of the authors, of which there are 14 authors writing 13 essays, they all have something to contribute to this. And it really is a very helpful book. So if you say to me, well, I'm not a Calvinist, therefore I don't want to read this, I would suggest to you, you're not helping yourself by just dismissing things. I don't read things on the basis of are they written by a Calvinist or not. I read things on whether or not a book may or may not add to the conversation and add to the consideration of theological positions. I don't want ever to not be able to stand in a room with Calvinists. Some of my best friends are Calvinists, but it doesn't mean that I necessarily have to subscribe to that position, because personally I think I subscribe to a bigger God. But what I would say is this I found to be very helpful to me because it described a historical position which I wasn't really even aware of, that is used by Calvinists to help them be more rational about their 5-point belief system. And in fact, it really introduces the 4-point Calvinist view. So I think this is a really helpful book for one that came out in 2023. Is this a subject that I would say is desperately interesting to me? It's not that interesting, but I found the book to be interesting. I found the book to be well written, well edited, and the contributors all had something to offer. And when we're talking about the subject of atonement, which is something that's widely written about, something which there is so much on the bookshelves to say, these 3 recent books I all felt had something new and different to add to the debate. And I want to read books that do that. And so I found all 3 of them to be helpful. I hope you found what I've had to say to be helpful. If you had, please remember to give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already done, please subscribe. We're on our way to the elusive 1,000 subscribers, and it would be really good if you could help us be part of that. Thank you so much for your help and support in 2023. And what I would say to you is, I hope that if you are watching this at the current time of year, that you have the very, very best of Christmas times and a wonderful new year as we transition into 2024. Until next time, bye!